Hello, my name is Morgan Wilson, and I'm one of those corporate tax evaders that Prime Minister Trudeau and his Finance Minister Bill Morneau has in their sights with their fair tax legislation. When my father purchased the farm I currently operate, it was in the early 70s. Our family took a tremendous risk acquiring these few additional acres at that time because operating margins were very slim in agriculture. Bone-crushing interest rates near 20% were the norm, and commodity prices fluctuated wildly. Any avenue available to help lessen the impact of such a purchase to ensure some small return was explored. We were encouraged to form a small family company to take advantage of a flat rate of tax and to provide a way to average income when there were good years and to share risk when times were lean. As time progressed, I began assuming more of the managerial role on the farm, and my wife and I became the sole shareholders of the company. As much as we throw the word company or corporation around, just let me say that we are a very small operation that barely sustains itself and wouldn't otherwise survive if I didn't have an off-farm job to subsidize it. We have a son who's gone off the farm and has developed his own career. The fact is, our operation does not have the resources to support his family and ours as well. So with that in mind, we decided to focus on building what equity we could in our farm by keeping it viable and by whittling away at debt with the focus that it would essentially become our retirement resource once we decided to exit. All the while, we kept in our mind that if our son one day decided to get out of his career, he could assume control of our operation and we would be paid for our investment through dividends or some other kind of disbursement. These new tax rules will effectively remove that option from the table. It might also remove some other potential buyers for our company from the table, as they themselves are family-run farming companies. We will have to dissolve and sell the company outright to a large corporate entity or perhaps a large farming operation such as the Hutterites and take our tax hit at that time. And by the looks of things, this might be significant because we may not pass the CRA reasonability test due to my off-farm income, and we may lose some or all of our capital gains exemption. We're unsure whether our lifetime of sweat and effort will leave enough for our retirement, let alone any assets in an estate to pass on to our son and his family. As has been mentioned by other people's comments, we small company owners don't draw large salaries, contribute to pensions, enjoy things like sick and maternity leave with pay, or do we contribute to employment insurance. In our past 30 years of operation, our little company paid us dividends once. We pay considerable fees to accountants to wade through all of the regulations related to corporate taxation, and we pay them to take care of our personal taxes, as we are intertwined with our farm companies. We take tremendous risk, often putting equity in our homes up to loan our company's money for expansion or emergencies. In agriculture, we're at the mercy of natural forces and have to buy insurance to make sure at least our production costs might be covered. We must reinvest in our businesses to maintain our infrastructures and keep our technologies current. So if we're somehow taking advantage of some taxation tools to help mitigate all those costs, we shouldn't be painted with the same brush as a business executive who sprinkles dividends to his teenager for walking the dog. In many areas of Alberta, farmers are struggling with rising costs associated with government regulation. They're also struggling with other forces beyond our control, such as livestock diseases, floods, drought, hail, and wildfires, which have ravaged many operations. They're burdened with regulations regarding labor code and workplace safety standards designed for the factory floor, not the farm. And we're being punished at every turn for being independent, innovative, and frugal. We realize that farming is cyclical, and we welcome opportunities to invest in ourselves when times are good and save for when times are not. It appears that the overlying agenda for these tax reform is to remove private property from the hands of families and reduce them to tenants serving large corporate landlords who may, in fact, be offshore. Many scenarios spring to mind that are very frightening. Now, who's to say once those large companies assume control of our farmland that our nation's food supply will be safe? Or how about the nation's sovereignty? We should be very concerned. I urge all of you to contact a Liberal MP near you and implore them to stop these punitive measures. There's nothing fair about looting our family investments in our small corporations and eliminating our ability to plan for their succession to our children. We're insulted that we've been called cheaters and tax evaders by the very people who have tax-sheltered assets squirreled away in family trusts and offshore holdings far beyond the reach of these tax reforms. Make no mistake, we will lose our rural communities as doctors take their companies to friendlier regimes where they're not considered criminals. As one professional at a recent town hall discussion put it bluntly, this is an extinction event. Once small communities begin losing services, they quickly dissolve. It's ironic that my father's generation had to suffer through the Pierre Trudeau era of the National Energy Program. It caused a disastrous upheaval in our Western Canadian economy. And now, with no real support from our provincial government, we're at the mercy of Pierre's son as he gets set to pilfer our small businesses' savings and stifle their growth to finance his irresponsible spending. We can't let the pressure off in opposition to this folly. Please, contact your MP or post your thoughts on Facebook and make sure it's shared widely. We need to stop this.